This is a box that contains some interesting models, and today I'm going to be opening it up, going through everything in here, and trying to get everything in this box fixed up. So let's just get this thing unboxed. Alright, so it looks like we have everything in this bubble wrap out here. So I'm going to pull all these individual pieces out. Alright, now everything in here, I believe, is in varying states of condition. Some of it's missing parts, some of it's got some broken stirrups and stuff like that. I did not pay a ridiculous amount for everything in here, but as you might be able to tell, this is a lifelike NASCAR train set. This one, I believe, I don't think this is a Kyle Busch era car. I think this is when Bobby Labonte still drove it, but this is an Interstate Batteries box car. It looks like some of these frames kind of got smushed during shipping, which will be something I can fix up. But this one looks like a Carl Edwards Office Depot car. This one is missing a stirrup, but it really doesn't look all that bad. So I think this one I am perfectly okay with. This one should be our locomotive, which it is. It's a rather odd looking paint job. All it says is NASCAR on it. It looks like this is a little bit damaged, so we're going to have to fix that. Hopefully this thing runs. It looks relatively new, as with all this stuff. Alright, we just had a wheel fall out, but right here, this is a Tony Stewart car. This one is missing all of its stirrups. This one, again, had a wheel fall out. This is a Matt Kenseth DeWalt car. This one looks to have all of its stirrups. And then lastly, to complete this whole train, we have this NASCAR caboose. So I'm going to clean up this box, and we're going to go through all of this stuff. We'll start with the rolling stock and see what needs to be fixed up. Alright, now that we've got everything out of the box, I just want to go over and quickly assess everything. First up, we have this NASCAR caboose. This one, the frame feels a little bit loose. However, I think just about everything in here is in pretty good shape. In this video, I'm not going to be upgrading everything here to Katie's and metal wheels. I would like to do that in the future, but for now, I'm just going to leave it alone. All the detailing on it looks good. This one doesn't appear to have anything broken, any missing wheels, anything like that. Next up, we've got the Home Depot car. This one looks like it's just missing an axle. All the stirrups are gone. There's not much we can do about it, and honestly, with this quality of car, I really don't think that's the worst thing in the world. So I think really all I've got left to do for this one is we can throw in an axle. And this car should be good to go. Next up, we got the Interstate Batteries car. This one's got all of its stirrups. Everything on here looks good and crisp as well. These cars all look pretty nice, even despite the missing stirrups. All this one needs is a fresh wheel set put back in here. Alright, and that one should be good to go. The engine, all it really looks like it needs, and I will do this after we go through all the freight cars and whatnot, is it looks like this little bit here is kinda in the process of breaking off. So I'm just gonna use some glue and a little bit and a toothpick and fix that off camera. And it looks like it'll need a front coupler, but I can deal with that in the future. Next up, we got the Matt Kenseth DeWalt car. This one, again, I believe all it needs is a wheel put back into place, if I can do so. So it might need a little bit of fresh oil or something, because that wheel feels a little bit stiff. However, with just a little bit of adjustment, I think this one should be good to go. All the paint and the stirrups all look good. Then lastly, we just have this Carl Edwards car. All I need to do here is put the truck back on. The shell looks decent. It's missing a singular stirrup, but other than that, I think this one, once we get this popped right back on, should be good to go. Alright, so all these cars only seem to have minimal damage. Everything seems to be in pretty good shape. I'm going to mess with the DeWalt car and the engine off camera, then I'll come back once we got everything cleaned up, and we'll see if this engine runs. Alright, all of my repairs have been finished. I've glued everything back together. All the cars are in good shape along with the engine. I believe this thing, hopefully, will run. However, I did notice something. This rear wheel is not geared, and I opened it up, and the peg that actually holds the gear onto this thing was gone. So I think it had broken off at some point. This thing will only be two-wheel drive, I don't know if I will be leaving it on this exact chassis, or if I'll be swapping it with a different lifelike F7 chassis, or if I might even end up putting this thing on a blue box chassis. We'll see, I don't know, but for the sake of this video, we're going to run this thing with the original chassis. So, with everything done, let's test this thing out, see if it runs. The NASCAR F7 is all set up, let's see if this thing will run. And so it does, and immediately, which is kind of shocking for one of these lifelike units. Seems even better in reverse. Again, I don't know if it'll forever be staying on this chassis, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to run it on this original chassis. I think using a blue box chassis and making this thing DCC eventually would be cool, but for now, we're just going to mess around with it on this layout. Alright, I've got the entire train set up. Let's give this thing some power and let it run around. Helps if you're going the right way. Alright, it does seem to be struggling to pull this, so I am going to, in fact, swap it with another lifelike F7 shell, and then we'll get some shots of this thing running around. While this NASCAR train may seem like a random purchase to all of you, this is something I have wanted for such a long time. I have, for my entire life, been a huge fan of racing, including NASCAR. As you can see, I've got a whole bunch of different NASCAR diecasts, some of which match this train, and I feel like this was one of the most fitting pieces of model railroading equipment that I've ever bought. It's definitely not the most high-end, nor the most realistic, but I think it's something that I definitely needed to have in my collection. So, I want to thank you all for watching. I have no plans on getting rid of this thing anytime soon, and I'll probably keep it around and have some matching cars to go with it at some point. I've already got one, why not hunt down 3 more?